Massive Kremlin disinformation campaign to undermine Zelensky exposed. Beware Ukrainians and everybody else too. How it was done. The Washington Post exposed Russian propaganda and I confirmed it. The doppelganger operation and more. This is what we're gonna talk about today. Hello everyone, I'm Elena, welcome back to my channel Enough of Propaganda. Please like, subscribe, share, write comments. Let's make truth available for everyone. This is what helps to promote it on YouTube. Thank you. The Kremlin disinformation campaign, as revealed in documents, aimed to undermine Ukrainian President Zelensky by spreading false narratives to sow political destabilization. I personally researched over 25 sources to create this video, and way more than that, just a minimum estimation. And I'll show you a piece of video from Warthog Defense where the Russian official Rogozin confirming everything I'm gonna talk about today about Russian disinformation.
Russian Senator Dmitry Rogozin explained how Russian propaganda works in a lecture at university in Moscow. Something is familiar?
Victory in war primarily depends on discrediting the enemy's political and military leadership. Therefore, portraying them in the eyes of their own people as inept individuals who have undeservedly risen to power and thus are leading their society towards ruin and death becomes a crucial tactic. The second method to discredit the enemy's leadership is with accusations of corruption, employing vast amounts of deep fakes to depict certain figures on the enemy's side as mere thieves and corrupt officials, basically to show them as untrustworthy. This strategy primarily targets their most influential and popular figures. Additionally, intimidation tactics can be employed by showcasing the strength and the unwavering determination of one's own army in achieving its goals.
So Russian government deliberately did what Rogozin said. And we will start to discover what they did from this particular article. Kremlin runs disinformation campaign to undermine Zelensky, documents show. More than 100 documents were shared with the Washington Post to expose for the first time the scale of Kremlin propaganda targeting Zelensky, with the aim of dividing and destabilizing Ukrainian society. Efforts that Moscow dubbed information psychological operations. Objective of Kremlin's disinformation campaign. Number 1. Documents revealed Kremlin's deliberate effort to undermine Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky by spreading disinformation, by making stuff up and spreading it. And the second, Kremlin aimed to exploit tensions between Zelensky and top military commander at the time, General Valery Zaluzhny. I quote, "They have been trying to orchestrate just such a split for many months," documents show. "We need to strengthen the conflict between Zaluzhny and Zelensky along the lines of he intends to fire him," one Kremlin political strategist wrote a year ago, after a meeting of senior Russian officials and Moscow spin doctors, according to internal Kremlin documents. So basically, Washington Post got internal Kremlin documents. And this is what we're going to talk about. Execution of the disinformation campaign. Russian President Vladimir Putin's administration ordered a group of Russian political strategists to use social media and fake news articles to push the theme that Zelensky is hysterical and weak. He fears that he will be pushed aside. Therefore, he is getting rid of the dangerous ones. Thousands of social media posts and hundreds of fabricated articles circulated in Ukraine and Europe to exploit rumored tensions. Challenges and objectives. Despite efforts, Ukrainian society remained largely united, post-Russia's invasion frustrating Moscow attempts. But, with General Zaluzhny now out, the front lines frozen, and further military and financial support from the United States uncertain, some in Kiev are concerned that Russia's covert propaganda efforts could begin to erode national cohesion and morale. In January 2023, the Kremlin's first deputy chief of staff, this man, Sergei Kiriyenko, tasked a team of officials and political strategists with establishing a presence on Ukraine's social media to distribute disinformation. And he and Kremlin, in his face, outlined 4 main objectives. Number 1. Discrediting Kiev's leadership. Number 2. Splitting the Ukrainian elite. Number 3. Demoralizing troops. And 4. Disorienting the population. Today I'll show you exactly how it was done. But let's continue with the article. The team's success was to be measured according to key indicators. They were to lower the ratings of key personnel in Zelensky office, the Ukrainian government, and the command of Ukraine's armed forces, and increase the belief among the Ukrainian population that the country's elite working only for itself. A growth in the number of government dismissals and public conflicts would also be a sign of achievement. To increase fear and anxiety, Ukrainian war losses were to be exaggerated, the document state. Methods and progress. Russia is preparing a new campaign which consists of 3 main directions. Number 1, pressure on the front line. Number 2, attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure. And number 3, this destabilization campaign, which is Russia is doing right now. Kremlin monitoring progress through weekly meetings and dashboards, focusing on social media engagement and public perception. They also run weekly operations and opinion polls on the level of trust in Zelensky and the country's military leadership. These things are in Russian, and I'll explain you a little bit, one of them a little later. Initially faced challenges, penetrating Ukrainian media landscape, but focused on Telegram channels and social media networks. By early March, dozens of hired trolls were pumping out more than 1,300 texts and 37,000 comments on Ukrainian social media each week, according to the dashboard presentations I showed you. If you're interested to know how much Russian trolls are making, records show that employees at troll farms earn 60,000 rubles a month, or $660, for writing 100 comments a day. I can add for myself that they have tasked to writing about 200 comments a day. This is what they do. In this time, Kremlin strategists aim to avoid blatant pro-Russian propaganda, focusing on building the trust with the audience. So they couldn't really push directly the exact Russian propaganda because Ukrainians wouldn't believe them. And at first they were failing and wasn't all that successful, but some posts really find their audience and so on, which we will see just in a few minutes. Recycling disinformation. Kremlin recycled disinformation used in Western Europe campaigns for use in Ukraine. Tactics included creating fake accounts and websites and disseminating fake news targeting Zelensky. And I'll show you some of them exactly. And the tactics in Europe in the European campaign included cloning and usurping media and government websites, such as those for Le Monde and the French Foreign Ministry, and then posting fake content on them, denigrating the Ukrainian government in an operation dubbed Doppelganger by European Union officials. And they created fake accounts on Twitter for prominent figures, including German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, and so on. The strategists sought to place stories or posts from those websites or accounts on Ukrainian social media as genuine European reporting or commentary. Russian companies, for example, the social design agency and Struktura National Technologies, faced sanctions from the European Union and were accused of spreading disinformation, creating fake web pages and social media accounts, usurping the identity of national media outlets and government websites, as part of a hybrid campaign by Russia against the European Union and member states. And the same Russian companies were spreading disinformation in Latin America. The hundreds of articles and thousands of social media posts translated into French, German, and English targeted Zelensky. The document shows. The people who were involved, it was Ilya Gambashidze, Nikolai Tupikin, and also Sofia Zakharova. And the Europeans imposed sanctions on them, and we will talk about this also today. Kremlin, through Gambashidze, Tupikin, and their colleagues, proposed narratives they hoped would destroy Zelensky's image in the West as a hero of a small country fighting a global evil. One of the documents sent in April shows. They suggested portraying Zelensky as an actor only capable of following a script written for him by the United States and NATO, and his Western backers are as tiring of him. They propose distributing fake Ukrainian government documents as evidence of corrupt military procurement schemes and suggesting that Zelensky and his family has Western bank accounts, the document shows. One of the strategists, for example, ordered a troll farm employee to prepare social media posts in French saying Washington will replace Zelensky with more capable president. Another article described Zelensky had pushed for Ukrainian forces to defend Bakhmut against Zaluzhny's wishes, leading, it said, to the death of 200,000 Ukrainian troops, which isn't true. But the battle was fierce, but this is not even close to be true. Financial incentives and deepfake concerns. Kremlin strategists offered financial incentives for planting pro-Russian commentary in Western media. But in the article it says it's unclear from the documents whether Kremlin was able to get material into Western publications or whether anyone was paid. But we will talk about it a little later. Yes, they did get into Western media, and quite a bit, and I have a video about just one of them. Concerns arose over the emergence of deepfake videos targeting Zelensky, signaling potential future disinformation tactics. And I'll provide the link to this article, so everyone can see how exactly Russian propaganda works. Here is one of the examples of how Western media publish information from the basically Russian troll who was working for Russia since 2014 at least, and published it in Time magazine. This is exactly Time magazine and Putin's propaganda. In this video, I just showed exactly how it was done. Another example, a viral tweet by Twitter Blue, subscribed conspiracy theorist, falsely claiming this is a picture of Ukrainian President Zelensky's home, has got 11,000 retweets, 25,000 likes, and 1.3 million views. The image is showing a villa in Beausoleil, France, listed on real estate websites. So they took a picture from the website and claimed it belonged to Zelensky. And this happened not just to Zelensky, there are other, and so on. Another claim by Twitter Blue subscriber, Ukraine's defense minister has bought a Cannes mansion using Western aid for his daughter's wedding, with 18,000 retweets, 31,000 likes, and 2 million views. So this is how it spread. This is one of the Russian reports. It's called Summary of the Center C, activities from May 1st to May 7th of 2023. This is content production. Total content 2,903, and it's raised in the previous time for 197. This is posts, videos, articles, memes and graphics, and special messages. This is information about distribution. Total touches is over 165 million people, almost 166. This is sociology for the period. And don't get confused. Red means yes. Gray mean I don't know. And green mean no. Don't get confused, because usually it's the other way around. And the questions here are, do you trust Zelensky? So yes, about 67% at the time. No, 18. Understand how it works? Do you trust the commanders of Ukrainian army? Is the government of your country acting in the interests of the whole Ukrainian society? What about in the next year or two, are you planning to stay in the country? Is to fight the war more important than peace talks? And is the Ukrainian army successfully countering Russian attacks? And are you and your people around you looking in the future with hope and optimism? So basically majority saying yes. And this is the goals. Discrediting of Ukraine, split up elites, demoralization of Ukrainian army, and disorganization of people. And this is talking about different contents here. This is the views, this is reposts and so on. This post about counteroffensive and so on. 3 million people, 3,500,000. And this is the main themes analysis and the main resume about this. And this is a comment center, so comments. This is amount of bots, 1,492, and over 12,000 comments on different social networks. So this is what we can see from this document. Main conclusions. Number one, the theme of prosecution by Ukrainian authorities of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate is losing relevance in the Ukrainian media space. A significant portion of messages on this topic and narrative about prosecution belong to Russian sources. So everybody who thought, oh, Ukrainian prosecuting Russian Orthodox Church, oh, the bad government of Ukraine, it came from Russian sources, mostly. And most popular Ukrainian sources and local online media outlets, basically leaders of public opinion, practically didn't publish messages on this topic. It was minimum involvement of the Ukrainian audience in this theme. Number two, the battles for Bakhmut at the time. There was remaining most discussed topic in the Ukrainian media space, about 55.7 thousand messages. It dominated in all regions of Ukraine. But it was taboo for Ukrainian leaders of public opinion, and so it wasn't all that interesting topic for the Russians to get involved too much. They couldn't. Number three, they were talking about mobilization. And there was a significant number of publications of the topic, but Russia, effectiveness of their propaganda was 1.7%. And involvement of the Ukrainian audience remained low. And so on. The last one, they're talking about counteroffensive at the time. Large number of messages were published, but the number of publications corresponding to the narrative of Russia was comparatively small, 7.8% of the total number of messages. And the top 100 Ukrainian sources published materials about the dates and prospects of the Ukrainian counteroffensive, sparkling significant audience interests, engagement 43.3 thousand. So this is how Russia, and they go in by certain talks. This is post in TikTok, post in Facebook, and special message here, post in Telegram. The other one were from earlier dates and so on, whatever I showed you, the same kind of thing. It's just for earlier dates, different posts, different engagement. It remains unknown how Russia can measure all of this, especially in any precision and so on. They don't have that much access to Ukrainian public, but this is what they're publishing. This is what's their internal documents, Russian internal documents. In these articles, there was talk about how European Union put sanctions on those people who is invading this information space and so on. And talking about those companies, Struktura National Technologies and two Russian IT companies and so on. This is United States Department of State, the Kremlin's efforts to covertly spread disinformation in Latin America. And in what countries? Several countries in Latin America and so on. And talking about the same company, social design agency and so on, and Struktura, that's what we just talked about. This is another interesting article by Atlantic Council, Undermining Ukraine, how the Kremlin employs information operations to erode global confidence in Ukraine. I only will add to it. What are they talking about? In the lead up to Russia's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the Kremlin and its proxies perpetrated information operations to justify military action against Ukraine, masked operational planning, and deny any responsibility for the war. Once the war began, in earnest, Russia expanded its strategy with an additional emphasis on undermining Ukraine's ability to resist, in hopes to forcing the country to surrender to either negotiations on Russian terms. This strategic expansion included efforts to maintain control of information and support for the war effort at home, undercut Ukrainian resistance, derail support for Ukraine resistance among the allies and partners, especially in the immediate region, and engage in aggressive information operations internationally to shape public opinion about Russia's war of aggression, including in Africa and Latin America. I can say that Russia was doing it all 10 years of the war. Only it's of course increased with its full-scale invasion. But the worst part of it, which we should know, right now it's increased even more. Way more than it ever was. You're welcome to read it yourself. I won't talk about this one much. If any of you fell for the lies made up by Russia, now it's the time to find out the truth, wake up, and help Ukraine to defend itself. Forewarned is forearmed. Thank you for your attention. I'm grateful for every one of you who came to my channel and stay there as my subscribers. So learn the truth and stay informed. Thank you for watching. See you later.